You're probably watching a ton of videos telling you this setting gives you more FPS or this one reduces input lag. They show one benchmark, one graph and call it a day. So now you copy it, but here comes the problem. Most of these tests are flawed. There are no repeated run, there is no warm caching, and there is no control over variables. Sometimes the improvement you see is just random variation, not an actual gain. That's exactly why so many people are running settings that don't actually help and sometimes even make things worse. So today we're going through PC mistakes that are actually killing your FPS, and the first one is installing RGB and hardware control software like Gigabyte Control Center and NZXT Cam. Let's fix that. Here you should be able to see that I have 10 samples, 5 for each for installed and uninstalled. And one of the most important tests I like doing in a game like Counter-Strike is look for stutters. Usually they should be above 6 milliseconds, but I am quite strict so I make it 4 milliseconds. If you look at the installed numbers, sometimes they're almost 4 times as much as uninstalled versions. So as you can see, 1% lows are quite better. Stutter rate becomes higher when you install this software, so keep them uninstalled. Next up, people are going to kind of put some headache in your brain and say, please plug your mouse USB into this particular port in the back of your port. You don't have to do that. I've tested this various times on various of my computers and the difference is very marginal, and it's just because we're not really testing enough samples. So in my worst case, the difference that I encountered was around 0.12 millisecond. Now, to keep that in mind, 0.1 millisecond is barely noticeable, and I'm testing for 500 samples, and this was the worst case. Worst case. So please stop listening to the internet, guys, and being so paranoid, okay? Just plug it in the back of your port, in some port. Just be fine. You already know, a lot of times I've already talked about my routing issue. That is, since I live in a very remote area and connecting overseas can be a difficult challenge, and I've always suggested that I use ExitLag, and I'm really happy to say that they reached out to me and are sponsoring this video. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're peaking or getting picked, you need good networking. That's why this video is sponsored by ExitLag. ExitLag uses AI-optimized routing to send your game data through the fastest, most stable path to the server, reducing your ping, packet loss. It's extremely easy to use and supports over 2,000 games. If you're playing across continents or countries, you're going to get the best possible connection. And right now, the birthday sale is live until the May 4th. You get 50% off the annual plan plus 90 days for free. So check them out, link is in the description. Should you use GPU scaling or monitor scaling? Well, I've tested it across various monitors, various systems, and it only matters when you're not really using a native resolution. So if you're using a stretched resolution, this might be important for you. Now on my non-main PC, which is my alt PC, whenever I'm using display, there is something going on. That may be because I'm not maintaining my PC properly, but when I use GPU, it gets quite steady. So this is a factor that you need to keep in mind. If you're a guy who runs a lot of tweaks and stuff like that and are not really careful, you should definitely be using GPU. But if you maintain your PC properly, none of these settings are really going to affect you in any way. Another thing that you should keep in your mind is that if you're using stretched resolution but you are using it in full screen windowed, you kind of get that blurry feeling in CS2. That is because WDM kind of takes over and it's usually flying like a bilinear filter, so everything appears more smooth. So if you're looking for that crisp quality, make sure you stick with full screen instead of going to full screen windowed, because that is going to give you the best quality and the most stable performance across various computers when you're not really maintaining your PC properly. If you're playing something like Counter-Strike or Valorant with raw input buffer, you can safely use higher polling rates. The game is pulling data directly from the buffer, so even at 2K or 4K Hz, you're not going to run into the issues people love to exaggerate. Now, about things like motion sync, people act like it magically adds input lag. It doesn't. All it's doing is aligning when your mouse sensor reports data with the USB polling interval. Basically, it makes your inputs more consistent. Yeah, at 1000 Hz, your worst case delay is around 1 millisecond, but it could also be 0.01 milliseconds. When you go higher, like 2K or 4K polling rate, that difference becomes so tiny and your movement updates get smoother because you're getting more data points. So don't be scared of using it. Try motion sync with a higher polling rate like a 4K or a 2K polling rate. If you like it, keep it, and if you don't keep it. Just don't start hating on it before even knowing what it is. But there is one catch. If the game you're playing does not support raw input buffer, don't push your polling rate too high. It doesn't make sense to play a game like Resident Evil and then pushing your polling rate to like 4000 or 8000 because it is going to be more unstable and is going to mess with your frame pacing. Always make sure you disable hardware acceleration on this card because it can add up to 1.4 milliseconds of average input latency. If you want to use VSync and G-Sync together, and you want to have the best input latency, the best thing you can do is just turn on your reflex. Don't try capping your frame rate or something like that. This is just going to give you the best input latency numbers. Now I know a lot of you guys use the no reflex command to do such capping, and yeah, it worked wonderfully when CS2 started, but I think it's been more than a year since when reflex problems have been fixed, so you don't have to do this. This is quite old now. So the data that I showed you before was like 1 year old, and this is when CS2 kind of came out. So here's a tight summary for all of you. First, make sure you stop installing random RGB or motherboard control software. Not only do some of them have security issues, they also run in the background and can cause stutters and FPS drops. Secondly, USB ports don't magically change your latency. Plugging your mouse into a USB 3.1 versus 2.0 isn't going to give you some secret advantage here when it comes to latency. Don't fall for that myth. Thirdly, if your game is kind of feeling inconsistent online, it's most likely routing, not your PC. Just say that 7 days it was working fine and then suddenly it's not working fine. It's mostly the routing. If you are far from servers, tools like ExitLag or similar services can help you stabilize your connection. Fourthly, scaling will only matter when you're not on native resolution. I recommend you use GPU scaling always to avoid some weird behaviors with old monitor, and also use exclusive full screen, especially for stretched resolution, because if you're using full screen window, the DWM is going to just apply some smoothing, filtering and scaling and ruin the sharpness of the image. Next up, the polling rate. Higher polling rates are great if the game supports raw input buffer like CS2 and Valorant. If it does, you can go 2K, 4K, 8K. You don't really have to be so scared. And motion sync is also fine as well. It does add a tiny bit of latency, but it improves consistency. You do not have to overthink it, like the difference is very negligible and the smoothness you are going to get is going to get you some good fruits. So try it. If you don't like it, don't use it. It's a feature. You bought your mouse, at least try it, Then coming to Discord, make sure you always disable hardware acceleration, and if you're playing seriously, I would recommend you just remove it. Like, it always affects my gaming. Use something lighter like TeamSpeak. And finally, if you're using VSync, G-Sync or Reflex, turn all of these three settings on together. Before, you needed to use no reflex when the game just started, but it's been 1 year since this been fixed, alright? So you can use it. Another thing I want to tell you is that if you feel like I don't play with VSync, G-Sync and Reflex, then why should you? Why am I giving you this remedy? It's not for me. Like, I feel a little bit weird, but that doesn't mean it should stop you from trying it, because it will get rid of screen tearing and it is not going to give you much input lag than uncapped. Like, if I play on my 400 FPS monitor, I'm only going to get 1 milliseconds of extra input lag with VSync, G-Sync and Reflex on. So it may be for you. So you have the features, try it out, play for a week, maybe play some casual stuff and see if it feels weird, or if it feels right for you. So just remember that it's your game, it's your PC, you have this stuff, use it. Don't just listen to some guy telling you don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, change that. Just try it out. You paid for these services and most of them are actually fine. Thanks to all the channel members, thanks to all the subscribers, and I'll see you next time.